Alrighty, and welcome back to part 2 of sustainability. We're here with Bindu talking about sustainability in relation to FinOps and the cloud and IT and everything else. Bindu, next question, we'll jump straight back into it. Is there a bit of friction between FinOps and sustainability? We spoke about how great they are. Are they always good bedfellows? I think you touched on it a little bit with things like commitment discounts, where there are potentially some sort of financial instruments which may work against sustainability. Is there any friction between sustainability and FinOps?
I don't want to call it as a friction. It's never a friction between sustainability and FinOps. It's more on methodologies that you want to acquire for sustainability and for FinOps, right? You will do certain things for FinOps and you will do certain things for sustainability. So I won't call them friction as long as both are yielding the right results for an organization and for climate. So I don't want to call it a friction ever.
Yeah, is there like things like competition for resources, trying to get enough mind share in the organization? Hey, we're all busy, we don't need another thing. Does FinOps take away resourcing from sustainability and vice versa?
So what we have seen is, I think I briefly talked about the drivers, right? The investors are sometimes drivers. So there is a driver, another category of a driver, which is individuals. What is happening is the individuals, they are asking themselves a question, and when they are doing a job search or moving to a new job, they are asking that question: is this company or what are their targets, or what are their you know what are they thinking about sustainability of the environment? And then they are making their decisions. So it is there are individuals like that in the company, where they themselves are so mindful when they are writing, and this is, I'm specifically talking about engineers, when they are writing the code, they are making sure that their code is efficient for both cost, and they also want to calculate their carbon emission, and then they are progressing in their design and in their development. So that is one good thing, and it then the individual becomes the driver for an organization. So in terms of getting the FinOps, we have seen in the past, the problem is having making engineers to take action, right? So yes, in those regards, when they are taking action for the cost, at the same time, there are other engineers who are taking action for the carbon side of their workload. And in turn, if it results in cost savings, that's a win-win situation. So it depends on individual as themselves, when they become the driver and focus on sustainability.
Yeah, okay, excellent. Just want to talk about the impact of sustainability on FinOps. We've focused a lot on the FinOps perspective, where if we start with FinOps, and then because sustainability is a bit newer, we start to drive that a little bit more. What happens if we seen cases where that's been flipped around? We had this when we had Devere's episode, when it was engineers that were driving FinOps instead of FinOps trying to drive engineers. Have you seen cases where FinOps has been adopted due to sustainability? It was sustainability that was the first step that an organization wanted, which made them then adopt FinOps, doing it in that order. Has that sort of popped up at all?
So that has happened when they have a very well established ESG organization, ESG culture. I can imagine that's happening in those kind of organizations, where the FinOps or the cost optimization becomes the byproduct from sustainability, wherever it's applicable, that we talked about, that engineers are so mindful when writing their code about carbon efficiency, that its byproduct also becomes the cost efficiency. So uh, but that is, again, that is on individual. When individual becomes very sustainable, um, you know, they come into with the very sustainability mindset, or with the company which is driving, and which have set targets for ESG and driving aggressively towards those ESG goals.
Yeah, is there any particular industries you've seen? I'm assuming something like the energy industry, organizations that are in the energy sector would be pretty across sustainability. Are there any other industries that are really driving sustainability hard that we're now seeing a growth in FinOps due to that?
Um, let, I think the energy industry is where I have seen, again, energy or power are the industry where I have seen it the most. And
Yeah.
I can also think of the, you know, the worst offenders are these mining industries and such. That's where I would see where sustainability is driving the culture of FinOps, right? It could turn other way around, because those are the most culprit of the biggest culprit of carbon emission. So that's where I would see are the biggest industry where it could turn around, and the sustainability driving the culture of FinOps.
Yeah, gotcha. Where they are like very carbon intensive, heavy mining, manufacturing, that sort of aspect. Yeah, awesome. Alrighty, and we're going to take a quick break now for the mailbag. This is where we answer your questions and queries that you have from the previous week's episode. So if you do have any questions or queries for Bindu or myself around sustainability, you can reach out to us at finopsfridays@apptio.com. Over to the mailbag. Alrighty, and welcome to the mailbag from the previous episode. This was the episode with Devere, where we looked at FinOps from an engineering perspective. First question, Devere, I came across a post on your LinkedIn where you emphasized that FinOps is not enough, FinOps is not enough, FinOps is not enough. Can you elaborate on what you're driving at with that statement? Devere says, so today most FinOps practices are mostly focusing on cloud spend visibility, touching carefully on ITAM, or dealing with presenting financial data. The main theme that they're focusing on is stop wasting money by creating visibility on workloads that are inefficient and mostly using financial plans on the rest, things like commitment discounts and such. So that very post-event focus. Unfortunately, no one is talking about the value of the workload, not how efficiently it actually runs, but how it benefits my business. The whole FinOps discussion is mostly on hardware efficiency from what he's seen, but unfortunately not on business efficiency. FinOps is a tool that can tell us that if we're running something optimally, but the value and impact center of excellence is a framework that will tell us if we're running our business efficiently. So things like the KPIs people currently measure is like percentage of spot or discount coverage of their workload, instead of measuring what is the ROI from running these discounts in the first place. Second question, what elements contribute to making a dashboard actionable for engineers? First of all, showing how much things waste rather than how much things cost. All translating down to a common dollar figure. Of course, everyone knows basically what a dollar is worth. It also helps to prioritize if you do need to take action, which ones you prioritize first and what's worth actually spending time on. Also showing how your unit economy is doing based on other similar workloads. Good example Devere has here is, instead of showing a team that their workload costs $200 and another team is $100, we can show them that their artifacts cost per request is 10 cents and they've got a baseline of something like 1,000th of a cent. So their cost per business is a lot higher. So having a good, well-known baseline and comparing to that versus just comparing teams. Also things like relational dashboards as well. So showing behaviors, good comparisons, things like traffic to, traffic from, that'll help give some perspective. Next question. How do you adeptly transition discussions from cost-centric to conversations about efficiency and value? So when he started the VICOE, the mission statement, direct quote, was any process, feature, agenda, tool, or vendor that we can't create measurable success criteria, measurable value to the business, or measurable utilization metrics should simply not exist. So understanding how to measure the business ROI of an agenda and what would be its success criteria. If that can't be measured, then it simply shouldn't exist. In terms of discussion, they mostly ask, what would make projects successful? If people can't measure it or don't know how to define it, then it doesn't get approved. Next question. When engineers face questions like, how will this workload impact my business financially and how can I track the impact, what strategies do you recommend? You need to find what to measure and how. First thing I'm going to be asking engineers who don't have an answer to what's the impact, how do you measure, is, well, why do you want to work on it then? Help them to then facilitate them to explain and describe the value that they're going to deliver and what is their driver. Help quantify and put that into some sort of framework. And the final question, you mentioned that trust is a key soft skill for a FinOps person. Any tips on how to build trust with colleagues and stakeholders? Small victories and accurate data. There is nothing worse than to shift priorities for a development team only to find out that you took the incorrect figures, everything was already discounted, the reduction is half of what was expected or calculated. You're going to erode that trust instantly. Also elevate successes with other teams. We've spoken about this a few times, is to make sure that you're promoting success, not just coming down hard on bad behavior. Figure out, well, how do we learn? How do we all get better? Let them be advocates for cost reduction. The best trust creation tool is a recommendation from your peers to listen to what we have to say. Any questions, any feedback? FinOps Fridays at Apptio.com. Back to the show. Alrighty, and welcome back. So we've got our last couple of questions here from Bindu on sustainability. Bindu, how does an organization get started in sustainability specifically? How do they sort of do that groundwork, the bootstrap preparation? How do they get moving? Are there established frameworks? Is there a sustainability ops type organization like we've got with FinOps?
So I think we talked here and there in this session already, but I can bring it all together. So how do we start? Where do we start? First of all, finding the drivers in your organization, right? We talked about individual driver in great length. So as an individual, if you see there is no effort or there is no role there, to addressing sustainability, then you want to bring it to your C-level executive if you are passionate. So we have seen those drivers, like individual drivers. We talked about the coming in from the investors, where investors are asking these hard questions that show me the roadmap. The shareholder are asking the same question. What is your roadmap on sustainability and such? Show us that. So that becomes a good driver. Then the other one is the customer. When the customer asks, like, I'm going to buy your SaaS solution, but show me your sustainability numbers and such. So those are different kind of drivers. Those beyond these are just some examples. That's how you get started in an organization. That what are your drivers? Sometimes it's organization that CEO starts this initiative, sustainability initiative inside an organization. And then what if there is an established ESG organization? So as a sustainability practitioner, as a FinOps practitioner, and extending the role to include the cloud sustainability into the FinOps, your FinOps responsibilities, you liaison with the ESG leader and with that charter of your CEO, and work with your ESG teams. Then, so those are the way you get started. Then I mentioned about the data. Work with your cloud service providers to get you the data, the accurate and the latest data. And some cloud service provider already have the dashboard or the tool available to give you the carbon emission information of your workloads, but again, it's not up to date. Or latest, I should say. It is not latest, so work with them. What information do they need? How can you help to get that that data to be current, right? You don't want stale data. You don't want 1 month old data or 2 month old data. And then start gathering those numbers. If you have established FinOps practice, you're already calculating your potential savings and such from your different cost optimization work streams. Then add one more column about how much carbon being saved, or other way around, like how much carbon emission is being reported for those workloads. So start showing that data and into your reporting. The other thing is, if you do not have the data coming in from cloud service providers, then there are some third-party tools that are available that you can utilize. At least they some of those tools are cloud agnostic. So you can, if you are a multi-cloud shop, you can show all these different clouds data, and then show the carbon emission. And so that is collecting the data, understanding the data, reporting the data. And then the next step would be working with the engineers as a FinOps practitioner, and including the role of sustainability is working with engineers that through those some remediation examples we talked about, right? Finding idle zombie resources, running in a particular time, and not running your workloads during idle hours, weekends and such. Finding a region friendly uh, geolocation. So working with your engineers to balance the FinOps and your go-to market. Actually, not even engineers, it working with your business also, right? If you want to suggest we want to move to this particular region, does it align with your go-to market strategy? So working with your business also. So that everyone should be aligned. So there are many areas where you can contribute, get establish the new processes in place, so that going forward your product management team is aware that need they only do not need to give you the features description and the cost that it will cost, but also be considerate about the sustainability around it. That okay, we will have our market strategy because we are thinking of sustainability also. So that's how you can keep. I know there are many work streams that I talked about that can work in parallel, but you have to put focus on each of those so that you at least have a touching points on all of those. At least show that you have, you're thinking about it. You may not be mature in any of these work stream, it's fine, but start going. Like with the FinOps, we have heard of the phases, the crawl, walk and run. So start with the crawl, think about all these areas and start building upon it.
Yeah. And is there, for small versus large organizations, larger organizations would have a potentially larger sustainability impact, so that they would sort of really look to, I dare say, get visibility, so then they know potentially how big the issue is, versus a startup, there's probably not a lot there. Is there a different approach with a startup? Are you looking more at cultural change, getting it into the engineers before the scale, and then starting to forecast the scale before it hits, versus a larger organization that's really looking at visibility and getting the formal practice set up?
Um, I would say both in smaller organization and bigger organization. Let's start with the smaller one. You are right. They are just starting to write the feature. You can have an impact quickly, and your input can be incorporated quickly because they can change their ways. They have a bandwidth to do that, right? It's a smaller organization, not many repercussions of it. But at the same time, the example that I mentioned, that okay, let's work with our product management team, that for the upcoming features we should be mindful. So give them the data, right? That right now these are our features, they are running in these regions, and they are not sustainable. taken as an example, let's move them to these regions. So change your market strategy and also show off the sustainability numbers when you release the feature. So I think you can work both small and big organization. It's just that with the big organization, you have to wait for that next feature release cycle, but you can start working with them. But where in the smaller organization, the release cycles are smaller, so you can see the result and the collaboration early on and the results of it early on. But I feel the processes remains the same, the mindset remains the same. It's just that you need to bigger organization, you need to collaborate with business, work with your C-level executive, make sure in the charter, if they have not, if they do not have a charter, make sure it's part of the charter. So it's like more work involved, but the mindset is start early on. So that
Yeah.
stays the same.
Exactly. Always the challenge with FinOps. When should I have done it? Like a while ago. Um, how do we work better with sustainability? You've convinced me, yep, FinOps sustainability, they need to work together. How do you suggest that a FinOps practitioner starts to work better with sustainability? Is it similar to FinOps where, we reach out to the finance team? Do we then reach out to the ESG, the sustainability team? How do we get better at integrating FinOps with sustainability?
It can work both ways. As if you want to start off sustainability in an organization, and if you can find like-minded people and you work with the engineers and say that, okay, let's have this open source tool and start on a small dev environment and show them the carbon data of your workloads, right? And so that is when you do not have established ESG team, then you can take that to your management and show them that, okay, we should be mindful, we should be capturing this carbon emission data, we should be reporting on it, and set up those best practices. But let's say if you have an established ESG organization, what I have seen is they create kind of champions, right? They have S champion for S part of ESG and the G part of it and the E part of it. And as part of each champion, you can be that product liaison champion, where you become the liaison between the engineering team and the ESG team and the business and finance team, right? And become that, okay, let's gather the data and start reporting the data. And FinOps is a big collaborative and kind of a liaison role. We know that already, right? You interact, you have forks with all the organizations. So just add sustainability up your sleeve also as part of your collaboration and liaison efforts for a well-established organization if they are not already collecting and reporting the carbon emission data.
Yep. And in terms of, if we're already moving along, there is some good work between the groups. How do you take it to the next level? What are some of those things that, okay, we're working together now, that we can take that next step and really advance FinOps and sustainability? Is there some generic advice to give to organizations there?
Yes, I think I briefly mentioned you can always take it to the next step, educating your procurement team that from our vendors, we want them to report their sustainability numbers so we can make a decision which vendor to go to. You can work with your cloud service provider and ask them to give you the latest and the accurate data of the workload. It should not be 1 month old data. You can have, and I've seen that already. It's not that it's not available. Have your CSP provide APIs so you can put hooks in your application so it is automatically reported. What is the carbon data of your workload? So those kind of requests, and that is a next step forward. Like you have established the dashboard, you have a good process set up as a collaboration, but now how do you take it outward? How do you take it to your vendors? How do you take it to your cloud service providers and bring it back it all together and show the the accurate numbers, show the accurate data, and then do reporting on those.
Yeah, so really just shortening that feedback cycle, getting better data sooner, act sooner, and really just continue that evolution at a more rapid pace. Excellent, excellent. So that is a wrap for this week's episode. Bindu, you mentioned FinOps Foundation, that they're doing a sustainability working group. Is there anything else that you'd like to make the audience aware of or give a quick plug?
So we have working group which has been now transitioned into a special interest group. If you are interested, please join the Slack channel. Please come into the meetings and give us your contribution. We are always looking for good, fresh neurons to add to our sustainability charter.
Superb. So as I said before, that is a wrap for this week's episode. If you've got any feedback, any questions, you can reach out to us at FinOpsFridays@Apptio.com. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Nathan, for having me.